What is up, everybody? Welcome back to WMMA Mania, WMMAnia, whatever you want to call the show here on this Tuesday. I am your host, as always, Drake Riggs, here to bring you all the latest and greatest happenings in the world of mixed martial arts when it comes to the women specifically. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys, my goodness, what a wild week it was last week just for overall MMA purposes, but things have toned down a bit now in the aftermath. And for today's lineup, we will just be recapping UFC 279 as well as Deep Jewels 38 and then previewing UFC Vegas 60. There's no news. There was no news this week, as eventful as last week was. It left us with nothing to talk about in terms of updates and things to look forward to down the line. So feel free, as always, you guys, to get in your questions and contribute to the show, and we'll make time as much as we can to get around to it and have the conversations that we're always open to having about whatever is on your mind. As there'll be that middle gap now with no news to talk about today, so that's good fun. And before we get into things, you guys, don't forget to visit MMAnia.com, as always, for all your MMA needs. Don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe on all platforms. And you can also hit that notification bell here on YouTube so you don't miss a gosh darn thing. Or if you're on Facebook, I think there's a way to follow over there as well. And if you're on Twitter watching, well, head on over to one of the other ones if you want to, contribute in the live discussion, because we cannot see your comments on Twitter. Only you and fellow Twitter viewers can see those. So does you no good trying to get anything answered here by me or interacting with the fine folk we have in the comment section. So yeah, how is everybody doing today? Alvin kicking us off here, saying it's truly an honor to witness fighters who put their health on the line every week for our entertainment. So we must be reminded that we must be a fan of individual fighters, because they are the ones who make this sport so great. Alvin getting us kicked off properly with a nice positive message, as he does. You love to see it, love to hear it. You just love Alvin. You can't not. Our prince of positivity here. Right after I say that, Jimmy says he thinks that this is the time to be negative. All right, well, we will see. We will keep it as positive as we can. Jimmy, please. I can have your feelings, but we don't like to be very harsh unless necessary. So, okay, well, everybody is definitely getting off to the opposite of that. As James says, this is a good point, though. This card just shows, speaking of 279, this card just shows how little each fighter is valued by the promotion, that they are always going to get the short end of the stick. I mean, yeah, we don't know exactly if there were any specific pay raises or bonuses handed out. Seems like Kevin Holland might have got one. A fighter we'll talk about here in a moment says she didn't get one and really dropped the ball there. We'll talk about that here in a moment, like I said. But yeah, they are just numbers in the system a little bit, aren't they? Rain says the Jing Liang of Lee of being robbed shamelessly. Well, I did think that Leach won all three of those rounds in that fight, but I don't think it was a robbery. I still think it was pretty relative, close enough to not be a robbery, but I did think he definitely won. So, yeah, that was a bad decision, to say the least. As Crombie says, 279 was a disaster, and I'm not going to read the other comment there. That is quite a comparison. Go says, history lesson to start our day. The term sucker punch originated from the right hand lead in the Joe Louis book, because only a sucker would get hit by that punch. All right. And he's justifying his bum words. So when I say someone is a bum for getting hit by right hand lead with no setup, it's truth, not an insult, according to history. All right. So lesson there. Makoto, I saw some people mention what you're saying right there, and as far as I know, I don't think there's a fair affiliation. Not going to get into that. A little bit off track there. As he says, the crowd booed the queen. Yeah, that's That's America for you, I guess, or the American fans. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have too much to say about the Queen. As Lewis, good to see you from Facebook. Thanks for tuning in. Says, why nobody say Leon has 2 belts, the UFC belt and the BMF belt. Dana White's Leon UFC fighter. I don't know. I don't know. He hasn't fought Masvidal. I don't know, Lewis. He is the champion, though, the most important champion, so that's all that matters. But anyway, all right. Off to a great kind of wild start here on Tuesday. Appreciate you guys so much again. But we will get into UFC 279 now. As I mentioned, somebody dropping the ball, at least in the pay department. The return of Marina Aldana, you love to see it. Defeats Macy Chasson via 3rd round TKO, an up kick to the body at 2 minutes and 21 seconds into the 3rd round. This was definitely, alongside Hamzat's performance, this was definitely my highlight of the night. My goodness, a knockout of the year contender. Crazy fight as is, but for it to end this way, my goodness. I've always said, and I still believe this, of course, but the knockouts that are rarer and lesser seen, the ones that are harder to pull off. So, for example, Yair Rodriguez defeating Korean Zombie, in my book, easily the best knockout of all time, because you're never going to see that again. And if you do, it's going to be few and far between and probably a long time from now. This one, I don't know if you'd say is quite up there because it wasn't like a clean knockout. Obviously, it was to the body, right? But I've never seen this before, and I don't think we'll see it all too soon once again. This was absolutely insane for Aldana to land this. And she said she's practiced that before, which, I mean, that's crazy to think about. But big win for her. Continues kind of a trend of finishing. You know, she's often known to be a finisher, at least lately. Finding a groove. Didn't look rusty coming in after about a year off. Great first round. Nearly finished Macy at the very end of that round. Armbar was looking dangerous. Landed some great ground and pound. And then she was looking pretty crisp on the feet. Before that, too, getting back in the groove, the rhythm, you could say. Landed some shots. And that was a 10-8 because, I mean, my goodness, she just was so lethal in the final minute or so. They're defending the takedown from Macy and wrapping that arm up and, you know, nearly finished it. It was looking really bad there. And then in the second round, Macy completely turns it around, pretty much dominates her the entire round, getting on top of her that time. And 10-8 it herself, lands some great ground and pound. Aldana just trapped pretty much for the entirety of round 2. And then round 3, it was pretty evenly matched, but Macy, I think, was just slightly edging Landon a little bit better on the end of her shots before ultimately getting on top of Aldana again and then getting hit with this crazy up kick. So this was a crazy night. Pretty good performances from each of them, you know, to manage to have as much success as they did in the first 2 rounds separately. Aldana, I think, has always been somebody who's capable of definitely hanging in there with Nunes on the feet. I mean, she's a great boxer. This is no secret. But the ground game still, as you can see, reason for concern because Nunes should be able to take her down as well and probably do well there. And we've seen just Aldana be beaten kind of on the ground in the past before by opponents. I'll never forget the Invicta title shot against Tanya Evinger. Yes, that was many years ago, and she was sick during that fight, but getting taken down by Macy compared to Nunes, a little bit of a difference, even though Macy has continued to work on that and got better and whatnot. But ultimately, it's probably, you would think, pretty safe to assume she may have jumped Ketlin Vieira in terms of the number 1 contender at bantamweight, even though I like both of them a lot. I really do. I'd love to see either of them fight Nunes. Fresh faces, fresh fights. I'm all for that always. I don't know if I'd have a preference now because going into this, I was like, all right, if Irene wins, and it's kind of just kind of what you expect from her. Even if she finishes, I was thinking Ketlin would still be ahead. But then the problem here is Aldana hasn't made 135 since the Hawley loss. And so that's where we get into Aldana kind of dropping the ball here with the negotiations and whatnot for this fight on weigh-in day, because it was Macy's call. Surprise, surprise, who has been at 145, at least above bantamweight her last two fights, and then coming back down for this one. Macy's call to move this to a catch weight of 140 pounds, as you can see there. And Aldana was on her way to making the weight. I think she was saying she was a pound away when she got notified that Macy wanted to move this to a catch weight. And so instead, here's the problem. Here's where Aldana fucked up. Instead of saying no and fighting Macy, what she came in, did she come in directly at 140 or like 139-ish? Around there. Either way, she came overweight of bantamweight. Instead of saying, no, I'm not going to accept a catch weight, Aldana agrees to have it as a 140 catch weight and stop her weight cut. Would have been 1 pound. I don't think that would have affected her too badly. Still looked just fine in this matchup, even though she said she felt a lot bigger. Agrees to catch weight, which by default, then she doesn't get 20% of Macy's purse because she missed weight. Terrible. Whoever's call that was on her team, she should be very upset with them, especially after winning like this. Thankfully, she got a bonus, for her sake, but she could have had a 20% extra from Macy officially missing weight for the bantamweight fight that they were supposed to have. Huge miss. Huge miss. I don't know how you let that happen. Like, don't agree to catch weights, you guys, unless it's like even if it's a massive difference. But that's the lesson to learn here, especially when she won. Let them be overweight and you make more money because you're getting some of their money. And you're still going to have a disadvantage anyway. Like, I don't know. It's crazy to me that she kind of didn't accept that. So that sucks. But hey, she did get the bonus, so that makes up for it a little bit. So, all right. Ghost says that was actually a fun fight. Aldana was just flailing her legs at the end. Just goes to show how powerful up kicks are. Yeah, she was throwing them up there. That's for sure. Jimmy says, why was Hamzat a highlight for you? They gave him a squash match. I'm not interested in manipulative BS for that. Yeah, I mean, we all knew that was going to happen, right, with that matchup. And I mean, it was going to happen with Nate anyway. No matter what fight Hamzat had that night, Jimmy, it was definitely favorable for him, no doubt. But it was a highlight because you cannot deny the grappling that guy showed and continues to show is just absolutely sensational. I've never seen somebody stick themselves to Granby's in MMA, Granby rolls, the way that he did in those two sequences right at the beginning there within like 11 seconds when he just flowed with Holland there trying to escape. And then it happened again. Like, he is insane. And if you didn't enjoy that from just a grappling perspective, which is what I'm talking about, then I don't know what to tell you, because that was just beautiful work from him in the fight itself. All the outside factors, yeah, I hear you, Jimmy. But as for a performance, that was sensational stuff. So Ghost says, think about this. Even if you're not very strong, you can leg press a lot at the gym. If you thought she did that on purpose due to her interview, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, she was trying to land those. So I don't know where you want to say. Probably not to the body, but they did, and it worked out. All right. Jumbo says she did not watch. I just tuned in to find out what happened. All right. Well, that's okay too. Happy to see you here, Jumbo. Zhao says, saw your Yan Jiaonan interview. My goodness, she is so boring and abrasive personality. Sorry, Drake, you're great, but I did not enjoy the interview as I speak Mandarin. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you checking it out. And shameless plug for the interview with Yan Jiaonan, which is up on MMAnia.com now. Zhao, appreciate it. Yeah, all fair to feel how you want. As Ghost says, Granby's only worked the first time, the second time, the third time. They don't work. Just look at Habib versus Tebow. Good example. I don't remember any attempts in that fight, Ghost. Are you thinking of maybe the Trujillo fight? He definitely tried in that one. I don't think there were any Granby attempts in the Tebow fight, but definitely I remember Trujillo for sure. And what those 27 takedowns that he got hit with. But yeah. I mean, usually I never see too many attempts in a single fight. Usually it's like one and done, like you're saying. So that's kind of why it was even crazier to me. Because the first one didn't even work for Kevin. I mean, not typically. He didn't get fully away from Hamzat. So that was kind of what I was looking at. But either way, Aldana, sensational stuff. Knockout of the year contender again. There's so many insane potential knockouts of the year to choose from. Meatball Molly, Michael Chandler. Those are the ones that immediately come to mind. My goodness. I know there's definitely some other ones that should be considered. Did Bahamundis get that spinning wheel kick this year? Sheesh. Just a lot to like in the knockout department. So much so that I don't even remember them all. Says, but the point is, yeah, it's a good grappling performance, but we knew that Kevin is terrible wrestling, so not that impressive. Well, it's not as impressive as it would have been against someone better wrestling, right? But that was still crazy to see. I think I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. I love those kind of grappling scrambles and fights like that anyway. So that was fun, I thought. But all right. So I'm sure you guys are ready for where we're about to go as we dip down the card here. And, I wish I had like a zoom feature on my camera here, but here, let's see what I can muster up. As we get into here we are. No, hold on. I gotta set this up right. My tabs are a little bit scrambled. Speaking of scrambles, anyway, at featherweight, Norma Dumont defeated Danielle Wolf via unanimous decision, 2 30-27s and a 30-26. Wow. I can't really get close that way, but wow. Who saw that coming? Shocker. Incredible. All right, let's move on. No, just kidding. But yeah, I mean, we knew how this fight was gonna go. Slightly disappointing that Norma wasn't able to finish her. Came very close in that second round. My goodness, absolutely walloped her with one of the cleanest right hands that you can find, and wobbled her earlier in the round. Before that, that was 10-8, and then I know a lot of people also scored the third round at 10-8 as well. I wasn't exactly scoring that one too much, but you look at the numbers here, they certainly support that. I mean, this was in terms of the fight progressing and flowing into each round, Norma did a good job of kind of I don't know, what do you want to say? Progressing, amping things up as the fight went on. Danielle was able to, of course, find some solid shots here and there. Really liked. So what I was getting at was, I get elevated. This was an elevator type performance for Dumont, who was pretty patient in the first round here, as you can see, 17-9. Lots of volume though thrown in terms of just overall thrown. Landed that fantastic Sonda sidekick to keep Danielle at bay in one of the moments there, right to the chest. That was fun. Love to see that. But nothing too crazy in the first, and then the second round she picked it up, beat her up on the feet, and then in the third round took her down because she's like, I can do this. So I mean, if Norma took her down right away and went for that approach, not that she needed to, clearly she is just a superior fighter. Surprise, surprise. She probably could have finished this if she just decided to beat her up on the ground, because Danielle Wolf was quite lost there, which is not a surprise. None of this was a surprise. I think I've gone over time here. I've gone over time on this. I love Norma Dumont, though. I think she's fantastic. Love watching her fight. I think she's very talented, but this was just a waste of time for her, really. And then I did not get to watch her full post-fight either, but apparently she wants to fight Perez or something, who just lost to Egger. Like, are you trying? I think she's trying to show that this needs to stop. Like, if she actually wants to do that, then she's pretty much saying, get rid of these featherweights who should not be here in the first place. This isn't a real division. Like, that's straight up gravedigger talk, because there's no point for that to happen either. My goodness, I don't know what the thought process is there. Maybe try and catch up with her here soon, but I mean, this fight was as it should have been, right? As Jimmy says, via manipulative BS. Yep, I just don't know what we were doing here. Makoto says, did you hear that John? I did not have commentary on for this fight, so I did not hear. But he says, did you hear John Anik say that you have to look good to get a title shot versus Nunes? No, when it's your turn, you get a title shot at a division that doesn't exist. Yep, very good point, Makoto. I did not hear him say that, but I agree. Ghost says, I like Norma since she can do cool things, less mean mugging, and more of the cool things. Open stance, low kick, and lean back check hook. She was going to be a fan of punch breakdown, but I decided not to, because the stuff she does is becoming meaningless when she mean mugs. I don't understand the kind of connection you're making there between that. Spart, good to see you. Says, are you surprised that this was even considered as a fight? Absolutely. Absolutely, I was. Spart, man, I know you're kind of newer here to the group and everything, but I was surprised with, I've been surprised with the entire Danielle Wolf saga. The fact that she was even on Contender Series in the first place. Not even just getting signed, but the fact that they even gave her a chance to be signed. That was a little bit crazy in itself. And now here we are with an unsurprising turn of events. Now, what do you do with her? She's 1-1. I mean, if anything, UFC, you put her against Perez. But even that's still like, I don't know. I mean, I think that she actually didn't look awful, like completely terrible in the beginning of the fight, but there's levels to this, man. There just is. So, yeah. Anyway, that was that one. So we move on to the last fight here, which was an unsuccessful debut for Super Melly, as at strawweight, Elise Reed defeated Melissa Martinez via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. I was not really scoring this fight as I was watching it, but obviously the first round, Super Melly ran into the right hand from Elise Reed. I mean, that's what her best shot, right? She'll throw that thing in, timed it pretty well, caught her, dropped her. She recovered, keeps on going. Pretty much the story of this was Super Melly, at least in the first round, she was fighting she was using a lot of distance strikes, really attacking kind of those obliques a little bit, really distance management with her shots. And then as time went on, Elise was like, all right, let's close the distance, and kind of just ran at her and tried to land punches. Successful for the most part. I wouldn't say Melly looked rusty exactly, but yeah, I guess the size that I was kind of thinking of here going into this was not too much of a problem here. I mean, in the third round, she finally kind of got things to the ground, which was good for her in that moment for Martinez, but still wasn't able to keep her down for very long. And Elise Reed then had her own success, but again, we're just kind of in that Loma boat with Reed as well, and I say that if you know what I mean, is in terms of the size, it's only going to take her lack of size will take her only so far, and we've seen that. It's proven, and we've seen it with both of them. And yeah, she just kind of overwhelmed Martinez in this entire fight. Nothing too spectacular. I liked the idea that she had in the beginning, Melly with her rangy attacks, but yeah, wasn't good enough in the long haul. So Go says Norma has potential to beat Nunes at 145. She builds off her techniques. Well, I mean, they're definitely slow rolling her. We're not going to see that too soon. So, as James S. getting ready for the preview says, when Loa beats her late notice opponent, can she fight Reed? We very well could see that. Wouldn't doubt it. Wouldn't doubt. I think that's definitely a fight we could see happening sooner rather than later for sure. So, yeah, I don't have too much to say about this one. Disappointing from Melissa Martinez for sure. But again, with like a 3-year gap, I'll give her a slight break for that. We'll see how she comes back. If she can get back to being active again, which I hope that she is hoping to do, then maybe we'll see a bit more of the promise out of her that we saw in Combate. But to answer you guys' questions from last week is definitely no Yasmin Yarguay or Lucindo. So they would not have had these kind of struggles. But that's a different story for a different day. And that is UFC 279. Congrats to the winners, though. Congrats to Reed, Aldana, Norma, getting the jobs done. So that's all that matters in the end for them. Maybe the fans not so appreciative all the time, but hey, it's all about getting that W. So, all right. So now we're in that middle part of the show that's empty, like I said, as there's no news. So you can just kind of fill it up with whatever you guys want to. I'm not going to just stop and wait here necessarily, but I'll give you a little bit of a break just for a moment. Continue the show and we'll fill it in as we go. But no news. But we have Craig here who says, hello, good to see you, Craig. Did you see Whaley's elbow vids? I saw she posted one the other day. I saw in a story that at UFC 235 that Tisha decided to stay away from Whaley in the clinch because of the elbow she saw. What do you make of that? Smart move. And something got on my forehead here. Yeah, I mean, Whaley has quite good elbows in tight. This is nothing new. We know that is for sure the case. RJ, good to see you as well. Hi, man. Your boys and girls shout you out constantly on Dan's show. These have to be the best part. That is so kind of them. Yeah, I went and checked out the beginning just to kind of hop in and see one of Dan's last with his UFC Paris preview, and I saw you guys there. My goodness, very very kind, very flattering. Means a lot for you guys to do such a thing and show support to Dan as well. So that is great. Support the good people who are doing good stuff out there. So James says he was at Carla's camp. She's not working on her wrestling, but takedown defense and wall walking and striking. I cannot film it like some people, but your thoughts? I mean, that makes sense. She probably shouldn't need to work on her wrestling. That's one of those things where it's like, that's what she's best at. It's always kind of going to be there in the back of the brain. You don't need to hone that too much extra. Takedown defense. Yeah, good to be aware of the potential of it coming back at you, as we've talked about. Whaley counter wrestling a little bit there. And I mean, just if she goes to wrestle, whether it's defensively or game plan wise, wall walking, smart, and then striking. Well, yeah, that's these are all the things that make sense for her to work on. James. So that sounds like a very aware camp she's trying to put together there. As Jimmy says, what do I think of the idea that there are no Esparza fans but Zhang haters? I mean, I know of at least two Carla fans out there. Um, I guess that's fair though. I mean, she's definitely not one of the more popular fighters, but everybody has fans to an extent. You gotta realize that. I think this. I mean, if you were to make an example of one comparison here, then yeah. And Go says it's not smart. Waves Camp already knows what she's working on. Well, then what's it matter? I mean, how is it not smart? Well, if they're gonna know no matter what, Ghost, then what do you suggest she does? Just nothing. Like, it's come on. But I don't know. We know how the fight will probably go. We'll just have to wait and see. My goodness. My goodness. I saw the other day that what it was like. Was it this month or it was recently? The 4 years or so since the Tatiana Suarez loss. Crazy in hindsight, kind of to look at that and how I think that was Carla's last loss, and it just makes you wonder, man. Just makes you wonder. Tatiana could have stayed healthy. I have a feeling at this point she's never going to come back. Like, she's talked about it recently, but what could have been? What could have been? I don't know if I was ever sold on Champion specifically, but it's when you kind of look at that and it's like, she definitely would have fought for the title. Definitely would have fought for the title. She was a bit of a monster. As Ghost says, suggests Carla to continue working on the wrestling instead of adding new things that she won't be good at. Well, that the point of adding them in is trying to be good at them, right? And working on it there. So, yeah. Jimmy says Tatiana would not beat Whaley, especially at the coaches Whaley has now. But if you look at the timing there, Jimmy, they would have fought most likely before then, which is then quite interesting. And you still don't, it's still, if you look at prime Tatiana there, that wrestling is still a problem for absolutely anybody, even current Whaley. Like, that would be an interesting fight. Tatiana is a big strawweight, very, very strong. I can't really say that now, but pointless to talk about because you never know. But man, she was pretty dominant in that area. So, all right. Well, with that in mind, I guess we'll move right along. Probably going to be a short show here, unless you guys keep them on coming, which feel free to. Always open to it. But before we get into UFC Vegas 60, watch out for, oh shit, never mind. Guys, I completely missed and blanked on Deep Jewels 38. I feel terrible now. Wow. My goodness, look at that. Shame on me. Deep Jewels 38 recap we do have here. Oh man, I'm just blanking over the lineup notes. I don't know why I kind of just didn't see that. But yeah, we had this event happen over the weekend too. So let's get into this real quick. As I did not see it. So these recaps, I feel like I should start holding off on them until I actually watch the event, because catching them live is always just kind of, I never even, I mean, if I tried harder, I could probably catch the time specifically. And I know it says right here, but even then I feel like it wasn't till kind of later on after whenever UFC was. But I don't know. I just struggled to watch Deep Jewels live, but I always go back once they're uploaded on YouTube, like a week or two later. So, excuse me. Sneeze coming here. Ooh. Anyway, Moeri Suda, the 18-year-old wonder child high schooler, got redemption in the main event, defeating Aya Murakami, handing her first career loss. via unanimous decision. So, hey, big one there for Suda, getting one back. And it was Murakami's debut. I don't remember if it was Suda's. I know their careers are kind of weird, especially with the Mori Suda, 10th fight at only 18 years old. Murakami's 5th fight. She is 30. Both very talented grapplers. Sounded like this was mostly a grappling affair once again. Not surprising there. It's what they do best. Curious to see how this one played out. But man, Morisuda keeps on keeping on. She is gonna be something at this rate, like continuing to rack up these wins and beating someone like Murakami, who's doing quite well, albeit recently at microweight. So yeah, that is something there. And then in the co-main event, Hime and Miko Kawabata with a 37-second knockout over Yuko Kuryu. Nothing surprising there, as Hime proved she is one of the best atomweights in the world after her upset over Sari Oshima a couple months ago. And she goes out there and just waltzes on through Yuko, as she should have. So there you go. Curious to see that one for sure. Mizuki Furuse also continues this momentum she gained from her last performance. Gets the record to 9-9 now, and she is one of those fighters like Suda who still quite young, just like 22, 23, but has 18 fights in her career now. Crazy. Beating Momoko by a unanimous decision. Then Kate Lotus won a split decision against our girl Eru Takabayashi. So I think from what I was reading here from our friend over at MARising.com, who does all the recaps for Deep Jewels, you can go check them out there if you want to have the written versions of these recaps. Sounded like Kate kind of continued the trend of managing to get Takabayashi down, but split decision makes that obviously was close in the eyes of the judges. So bummer for Takabayashi, though. Still doesn't hurt terribly, even though the record's at 2-3 now, which for some reason I feel like that's inaccurate. I thought she had at least a couple more wins than 2. Maybe some of the ones we were watching there were from amateur stuff, maybe. But Takabayashi, obviously like Suda, one of those younger prodigies in the making. So not all hope is lost for her just yet, but she's facing the growing pains for sure right now. And then, shocker, what a surprise. Mika Nagano got another armbar, round 1, over Tomoko Inoue, who's now lost all 4 of her fights. This was probably the most egregious case of manipulative matchmaking of the weekend, if we're going to be honest here. I mean, between Dumont and Wolf and this one, I think you might have to give the edge to this one, even though Tomoko, more MMA experience than Wolf even. So you can pick your poison on that one. Kuriyama gets back in the win, beating Murayama. The battle of great flowing last names, unanimous decision. Kyoko Minagawa gets the win there. Yoshikawa. And then the amateurs, I believe these first ones were amateurs here. Yeah, amateur bouts right there, ending with Yoshikawa, who climbed to 1-6. So it's been an uphill battle for her as an amateur. But hey, you love the opportunities that Deep Jewels provides. So yeah, very excited to watch the results of this card, especially those top 2. And then Takabayashi, of course, to see kind of how that one unfolded fully. But again, you can always go to MARising.com. Shouts to him, Robert Sargent, always putting together the great recaps there. And maybe I should start pulling those up for these. I think that would probably be better. Let's take a look real quick, just to fill our time here. So there we are, right to it. MARising.com, as you see. Shouts to him. Is this directly? No, this is not the recap article. Nope. Here we are. Here we are. See, he's got the play-by-play. So yeah, let's look at the Takabayashi one real quick, or we can see how Hime's fight went. Kawabata, Hime hurts Kuryu seconds into the fight with a straight right hand. She follows up with 3 more punches and then a final left-right combo that drops Kuryu and prompts Shibata to step in. Quick and impressive win for Hime. So it sounds like Kuryu didn't even land a single strike. Jeez. I mean, come on. Deep Jules, we got to do the Hime Oshima rematch for the title. I mean, the fight should have been for the title anyway if you were going to do it. I hate non-title fights for the champs, you know. All right, let's look at the Takabayashi one here real quick. As Kate Lotus opens the fight with a head kick and a body kick, then settles in and establishes her jab. Takabayashi clinches after landing a right cross. She lands 3 knees to the body, but Oyama counters with a Horigoshi throw and takes top position on the ground. All right, so there you have it. There's kind of the X factor there in the first round. Is Oyama hitting a nice throw. Gets on top of Takabayashi, who reverses, though, and Oyama tries for a triangle choke, then an armbar, so she's getting caught in these submissions again. Takabayashi frees her arm, and Oyama sweeps into top position. Man, this sounds fun. I'm definitely looking forward to watching this. Takabayashi traps her in a triangle choke herself, so Takabayashi whipping out the submissions and punches Oyama from the bottom and switches to an armbar late in the back and forth round. Yeah, that sounds very competitive. Sounds like she's improving too in just kind of the grappling area, despite getting hit with some stuff there. Oyama blocks the Takabayashi head kick and uses another Harigoshi throw to get her down. All right, so that was kind of the key there, it seems like, especially getting things to the ground for Oyama. Passes to half guard and lands hammer fist to Takabayashi's face. Oyama mounts Takabayashi, who gives up her back. Oh, there it is, Ghost. There it is, Ghost. She's still giving up the back, Takabayashi. My goodness. Oyama initially looks for a rear naked choke and then settles for punching the side of Takabayashi's head. Takabayashi reaches up and grabs Oyama's arm, which she pulls on and secures a sweep into top position. Oyama is active from the bottom and attempts an armbar, then a guillotine, and then one more armbar. Takabayashi closes out the fight with punches from the top. So from reading that, it definitely sounds like round 2. I mean, they're not scoring round by round here, right? Or maybe they are. What is up with this? Have I not known the Deep Jewel scoring this whole time? I mean, it says 2019 here. Very close, though. I mean, second round, if you were to go round by round, sounds definitely like a Kate Lotus round. And that first one is obviously a bit crazy, but I'm looking forward to watching that for sure. So very, very fun, interesting. Shouts to Robert Sargent again. That was good, some good play-by-play. He always does the best there with his recaps. So if you guys are ever missing out on the live action there and you want to see the results before they're uploaded, go to MMArising.com. So I'm giving all the shouts to him today. But yeah, deserves it. So that was Deep Jewels 38. As we go back to the Tatiana talk, as James says, how about make Tatiana fight Weili after beating Carla? That would be a good tune-up fight for Weili fighting a girl who hasn't been fighting or training. Well, that's not going to happen, James. That would be insane. And you shouldn't want the champ to have tune-up fights anyways. You're just asking for more criticism with those kind of potential matchup thoughts. But yeah, that's not going to happen. She's not coming back and getting a title fight right away. She said she's probably going to come back at 125 first anyway. So we don't even, I shouldn't have brought that up. We shouldn't even be thinking of her at 115 ever again, at least right now, or fighting, right? Like there's just so much up in the air with her at the moment and maybe forever, which is a bummer because she was great. It's Krombopolis, good to see you. Says, didn't Suarez gas against Nunes in the third round, and you expect her to give Zhang Weili the monster her dime for 5 rounds? She slowed down. I wouldn't say she gassed. And I think that might have been more injury related because we'd never seen that really happen to her before, like the Carla fight, for example, which was right before it. She's always been fine. That was kind of a rare kind of situation, I think. And, you mentioned hard time for 5 rounds. You gotta, who knows if it would go that long, would have went that long. But, yeah, it's all just Fantasyland right now. So, Mary, good to see you. Hello. Whaley had a live chat on Saturday regarding UFC 279, and surprisingly, Mungbo and Wu Yanan were at the apartment where she's staying at. Were they hanging out, or they were just in the same place? That's kind of funny for sure. Yeah, they just went back recently, didn't they? As Mary says, Whaley scolded us for making fun of Yanan. She was quite livid at the memes being made of Yanan. Do you think it's good for another fighter to stand up for another fighter? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to. I haven't seen any memes of Yanan. Maybe it's something happening in China, perhaps, right? But it's been a rough stretch for her. So yeah, I can understand why she'd not be happy with that. I mean, she's trying her best out there, Yanan, but it's been tough sledding. You can't win them all. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good camaraderie, right? I mean, they're all doing the same thing. The amount of shit that MMA fighters get from just a bunch of MMA fans, MMA fans are definitely one of a kind compared to others in certain ways. So, yeah, no, I think it's always great to see them stick up for each other for sure. James says, I see the Carla Esparza Defense Force referring to Whaley's inferior grappling. Do they not know she's working with the most skilled grapplers in the world, like ADCC finalists and contestants? Maybe not. I couldn't tell you. Eunice says, Zhang Weili is an inspiration. I don't understand why anyone root against her. People like what they like, Yuna. I don't know. Krenda's Shield, good to see you. New name. The Zhang Weili love is all over Dan Tom's live chat too. She normally gets a lot of hate, but good to see that she's getting some love. Yeah, well, there you go. Krabopoulos thought she gassed because she couldn't get a takedown. I'm pretty sure there's no excuses, of course. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch that third round, but I do remember giving it to Ansarov for sure. Mary says Mungbo is fighting at one. She's preparing at Bung Tao with Weili and Yanan. Oh, she have a new next fight booked? Is that what you're kind of alluding to there, Mary? Giving us some details, some secrets. But yes, Mungbo. It has been a bit since her last fight, huh? It was earlier this year that the Tiffany Teo one, wasn't it? So anyway, that was Deep Jewels 38, you guys, to kind of round about there. Before highlighting to watch out for tonight, the Contender Series. We have Bruno Brazil versus Marnick Mcmahon. And I will tell you, Contender Series is doing a great job of picking up fighters who I have not heard of before. But that fight is happening at flyweight. And, they're both from the LFA, so that's kind of funny to pull them from the LFA just to fight on Contender Series. I mean, hey, that's some good business moves right there, I guess. But yeah, Man at least has a notable win here with Pauline Macias in her second to last LFA fight. So yeah, I mean, hey, it seems like Contender Series is once again becoming you win and you're in. It's turning back into that. So maybe a winner here can get themselves right in at flyweight after it says that each of their last fights were strawweight. So moving up, don't know what's going on there, but Contender Series going on tonight. So you can look out for that. But all right, you guys, let's get into UFC Vegas 60 now, as we have 3 fights to look at across all 3 divisions in the UFC. And yes, I'm excluding the fake one at the top there. We're starting off with a fight I feel like we've already broke down and previewed before, but at flyweight, Maria Agapova is back taking on Jillian Robertson. And I probably feel that way because when you talk about this, it's kind of I don't see this fight not going kind of exactly how it should go, which the way it should go is how kind of all Agapova fights potentially can go or do go, honestly. I mean, first of all, though, we have the odds here at near even plus 115 for Maria to the minus 140 Jillian Robertson. How times have changed for Agapova being these massive favorites over the Shanna Dobsons of the world. My goodness. But anyway, how this should go is Maria Agapova, one of the most aggressive fighters in the entire division, just one of the most aggressive female fighters out there, really. And sometimes that can cost her, but generally what you will see is she will beat the ever-loving shit out of somebody, just blitzing them, making them uncomfortable, whether it's in the clinch or just closing her way in with a barrage of punches and maybe get some knees in there, whatnot, beating them up to hurt them before pulling off a submission more often than not. Generally not too much of the TKO variant can come, as you can see in Invicta there, the Santos one, but the Cyphers win was kind of exactly that. The Mazo one, that was just a great performance from her. That was, after the Dobson one, she completely made this shift in that one and looked like she was going away from that ultra aggressive fighter. Like, she looked fantastic in that one. And then the Moroz one, I think Moroz just kind of, I guess, shut that down, but she looked completely changed in the Mazo fight, which I kind of forgot about, honestly. Great approach in that one. Very much more patient, calculated, picked her shots, and kind of gave Mazo a bit of a taste of her own medicine in a way. But typically what you'll see out of Maria, so I guess we're going to still lean on that till she can prove us otherwise, is that ultra aggression, beat you up early and as often as possible. And then what happens is if she doesn't finish you there, kind of could struggle a bit afterward, which is exactly what happened against Dobson, which is exactly the problem there. And against Jillian Robertson, that would be a perfect situation for her to weather that early storm when Jillian Robertson really, she has not shown to have much more than a top game. When you really look at it, she's great on top. When she gets on top of somebody, she is a black belt. And BJJ, what, the most submissions by a female in UFC history now, right? I mean, I know she tied Ronda or something somewhat recently. Maybe that Cachoeira one was the one that did that, but she just doesn't have much to offer outside of threatening on top of you. So if she can get Agapova gassed by absorbing some damage and surviving, she can certainly get on top of her. And we've seen that in that last fight as well with Moroz. Agapova, just that's her weakness. If you can get a hold of her, especially if you get her against the cage or something, grind her out, get her to the ground, and impose your will. Exactly what Jillian Robertson typically tries and wants to do. So should be not any different here whatsoever. She has her work cut out for her, though, early on. That's pretty much, this fight should be 0 to 100, and then it'll slow down after. But I mean, hey, for Agapova, that strategy can work. It's a bit of a gamble, right? I think it should pay off against Robertson, who has been finished before. We remember the Macy Barber loss, which I still think was kind of an early stoppage. She didn't complain, really, but you look back at that when she was throwing a punch as it was ended, kind of bullshit. But if Agapova kind of takes it, fights smarter, and kind of like in that Mazo one, replicates that performance, then she's just kind of even more so solidifying a victory, being patient, picking her shots a bit better, letting Robertson not necessarily come to her, pulling Matador it a bit, but, using the footwork to kind of confuse her and keep her guessing in how she's going to get the potential takedowns. But yeah, so this fight feels pretty cut and dry to me. So where are we? Jen shouting out the Marina Rodriguez interview. Shameless plug. Did speak to Marina recently as well here on MMAmania.com. Says, I saw the interview. She cannot be frustrated if she turned down the Whaley fight at 275. Yes, she would have lost, but you can't complain if you don't fight someone who is at the top 2. can't complain. I wouldn't say she's complained necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is the case there, even if she did. But in terms of the UFC's eyes, of course, they're probably always going to lean towards whoever steps up, right? Let's go. Says Go Loma. She's fighting a short notice opponent who has funny striking. All right. Yeah, we'll get to that momentarily. Mary says Whaley told us not to miss Loma's fight. She is excited for her. Then she must be talented, right? Mary, she is talented indeed. We'll get into just kind of the things about Loma here in a moment. Drew says, are you familiar with the fight site? They have some great analysis. I am familiar with them. My biggest issue with those guys, and I don't really know them at all, actually, if I'm thinking of the right people, they just come off incredibly arrogant to me. Like, nothing against them, and hey, I'm fine with saying it. If they have a problem, then kind of proves me right, but they seem like they think that they know it all from what I've seen. And some of the stuff that I have read hasn't been super accurate, but again, it's just one of those things, right? If you're trying to be one thing, at least be humble about it, As Drew says, one of their hosts on the podcast said that 275 was Whaley's first title defense since everyone agrees that she was robbed at 286, 268. Is that a good take? I mean, you can look at it that way, but not everyone agrees. If you we've looked at the MMA decisions on that one, and it's pretty tightly voted, but a lot of people, I feel like I've seen definitely more leans for Whaley, but I don't know. That's just kind of a pointless thing to throw out there, since it wasn't a title fight anyway, all that stuff. So I don't know what we're getting at there, but anyway, that is Agapova versus Jillian Robertson, and then we will move on to Loma's fight, which is not Diana Belbita anymore, so that's sad. Was looking forward to seeing Diana back. Shameless plug. Also spoke to her ahead of this fight, but now the fight's not happening. Still don't know why or what happened, but in comes Denise Gomez. So interesting here. Bit more of a similar sized opponent for Loma. As you can see, the 5'1" to the 5'2" here in the height. Nearly the same in reach as well. Just 1 inch advantages for Denise Gomez. And I mean, Diana was going to outsize Loma by a lot. So still think it would have been one of those, it would have close and competitive fights, but in terms of the size and whatnot, which is what I'm getting at here. Who was it? Mary that mentioned something about Loma. Loma is very, very talented. She is very good. She is just, the problem with her is that she is an atomweight fighting in the strawweight division. And because of that, she is limited. Her potential and her ceiling is limited by the matchups that she is going to have or would have in the top 15. We've already seen her struggle in certain cases against some of these opponents already. For example, Lupi Godinez the last time out, figured things out, took her down pretty comfortably. Angela Hill beat her a couple fights ago. Not even much of a grappling performance in that one, right? Didn't even bully Loma in that regard. And then her other loss came in Invicta right when she got armbarred. I think that was at atomweight, because she did fight at atomweight before going to the UFC. And that was before she kind of really worked on her grappling. She was still pretty much just a striker, Muay Thai fighter. But yeah, Loma is a fantastic striker. She is very good. She should have the edge here for sure against Denise Gomez. I mean, if you're Gomez, you want to work the grappling and get a hold of her. And people will remember Gomez from her, I suppose, the Contender Series fight. I actually missed this one 2 weeks ago. Wow. So yeah, stepping right on in. But the Milana Dudaeva comeback was the one that we may remember most. Very veteran, seasoned, experienced opponent in Dudaeva, who just loves to get up real strong early and then fumble it away. Let Gomez do that and finished her in that fight after being down. So she's got that dog in her, you could say. But Hasn't really shown me anything too noteworthy or impressive. And same goes for the odds makers, obviously, even though this is also short notice. So who knows how much that is affecting the line. Minus 270. Very solid favorite to plus 220 underdog for Gomez. Excuse me. Oh. But yeah, this has the potential for sure to be kind of a vintage Loma performance. Work her clinch work, get off some kicks, all that fun stuff. But James says Loma time. Jane wants to see these improvements, and yeah, of course, working with Whaley recently. That's we'll see what she can show off there. Sco says he watched her last 3 fights. Why she literally running face first at her opponents. Hey, she's trying to get up in there. Jimmy says, did you see Loma's interview with JHK? It was very good. I did not get to watch that yet. I saw he did it. I did not see it though. So shouts to John getting the chat there, which he just left Thailand, didn't he? Went back home. So that probably wasn't in person, right? But I know he'd been obviously working there too. And Go says, yeah, it seems like a bad idea to run face first at someone like Loma. Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Since Loma was trained with Whaley and Whaley's striking coach John, so maybe Loma has a good chance. Oh, she even without them, she had a good chance here, Jin. Like this was she's still talented without working with those two, and should only help her in this. I mean, in all fights, but yeah, I think she would have been fine in this regardless. But we'll kind of see if she can show off anything new and improved and whatnot here. So yeah, still bummed about the Diana stuff though. I'm really curious what happened with her, but she'll let us know when the time is right, I'm sure. So that is our strawweight fight at UFC Vegas 60 as we get ready to look at a fight I don't remember if we got to preview, but a fight we were supposed to have a couple weeks ago or back in, was it July now when that happened? No, beginning of August, bantamweight, Aspen Ladd versus Sarah McMahon. Better late than never. Better late than never. As we see if Aspen Ladd can not have weight struggles, as always. Made it last time, but did not fight very smart against Rocky P, as well as the normal fight. She's got some things to fix here, and surprisingly, this is absolutely stunning to me. I mean, I don't think she should be underdog by a lot. These odds are obviously close, minus 130 to plus 110. But even though Sarah McMahon is 41 years old, though, she is still looking just fine. And that showed off by her Carol Hossa performance, beating Carol, who is still a strong up-and-comer who is, I think, going to be around for a good while. Proves that Sarah McMahon is still able to go. So I disagree with the odds. I think this should be flipped, if anything, at the least. They're perfectly matched in terms of their lengths. Sarah McMahon never had any weight cutting issues, as far as I know. Always been perfectly fit for bantamweight. One of the strongest, best wrestlers the division has ever seen. I mean, just ever among the women. Olympic silver medalist. We know how talented Sarah McMahon is as a grappler, a wrestler specifically. The main problem that's been the case with Sarah, and even in the win over Carol Hossa, she starts out just so insanely strong. Starts off so strong, whether it's with her wrestling or utilizing her powerful, very powerful punches, because she is absolutely yoked, again, just a powerhouse of a woman. Hits very hard. Her boxing has sharpened up a lot over the years. Starts off incredibly strong, generally always wins the first round, just beats people up. But then she can just she doesn't fade down the stretch, but I don't know, just gets less comfortable. Something happens. I don't know if it's a mental thing for her or gets too comfortable, maybe, where she ends up losing position sometimes. I mean, got submitted by Renault. There was the Ketlin Vieira one, who got on top of her in that one for the arm triangle. And we've seen, what even Pena, I don't remember if Pena did get on top of her, but, finding these positions where Sarah should be able to avoid typically and does early on. She is very dominant in the first round. One of the best like first round fighters that you will ever see. Um, and then against Ladd, who has essentially not completely abandoned her grappling and her own very strong wrestling. One of the best ground and pounders among the women, period. Aspen Ladd's ground and pound is very vicious. She pours it on people. It was getting a lot of finishes on her way up to this Jermaine Durandamy fight where she got completely iced. But now she's just seemed to fall more in love with her striking and her boxing, which is not working out for her. And you see, even in the Rocky Pennington fight, Rocky has great takedown defense, as we alluded to or highlighted when that fight was getting ready to happen. 1 second. Cat wants out. Where was I? Rocky Pennington, takedown defense. When Aspen tried to get things to the ground or impose her wrestling, she found some success. Surprise, surprise. So now that you're at a point, 2-fight losing streak, could use a win pretty badly. That'd be nice. You don't want to go 1-4. You don't want to go 1-4 in the last 5. Now she's tasked with the best wrestler she could be tasked with. Like, that's pretty shitty for her. But again, if she can weather a very, very tough first round, lean on your wrestling and out wrestle Sarah, because you will probably be able to, at least in the third round, because she just is worse as the fight goes on. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe she's going to work on this, have worked on it and recognized it. And shameless plug, again, I did speak to Sarah before this fight originally was supposed to go down in August. So you can go back and check that one out. I mean, nothing really has changed aside from the fight being postponed. So still a relevant chat that we had. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Sarah Mcmahon even managed to knock her out on the feet, just because we've seen Aspen get touched up and hit by, a hard puncher like Jermaine Durandamy before. If Sarah can land clean with one of those bombs, I mean, could be night. And then if it gets to the ground and maybe pounds her out there, who knows? But Aspen needs to at least incorporate a wrestling thread here. I think that in terms of like technique and whatnot, their boxing is they're probably about equally technical, but the power advantage is for sure on McMahon's side. Like, it's not a question. She's gonna have that against most every person. Even though she hasn't been a knockout artist, she fucking cracks. We have seen this in many of her fights. And then again, very powerful wrestler. Like, it's gonna be interesting to see how Ladd approaches it, but she's gotta mix it up. And Sarah is never shy to wrestle, no matter who you are. And she was kind of saying that she is excited more for a potential wrestling match. So, like, maybe if you're Ladd and you kind of see that, she does follow me. Maybe she saw the interview. If you hear that, then maybe try to avoid that, because, that's what they want. And I don't know. This is just an interestingly tough matchup for Ladd. And I think position wise, looking after the last 2 performances, it's a hard one, a hard spot to be in, I think. And yeah, I'm fascinated by this one. I really am. Sarah McMahon has always been one of my favorites too. So it's cool to see her continue on strong at 41 years old. 41 years young, excuse me. But yeah, where are we? James says, Loma said she learned a lot from John and Whaley. Will we see some cool setups from her, like the Whaley sidekick? Possible. Certainly possible. Kimball, good to see you. Is the upcoming fight of Yan Xiaonan versus Mackenzie Dern an example of manipulative BS? No. What, they're 4, 5, and 6 in the rankings? Not at all. And Mackenzie's 1-1 in her last 2, and Xiaonan is 0-2 in her last 2, but should arguably be 1-1. No, it's not manipulative at all. That is a completely fine and logical fight. Jen says, I have a very simple question. Why should we respect Carla as a champion? Did you see her last fight? Whatever your answer is, I cannot jump on board because Whaley, the fighter, not the person, was constantly being disrespected as a fighter by the media, so it's only fair to throw shade back. That's not exactly how that should work. I think treat every situation as its own situation, Jen. Yeah. Go says, why do a lot of MMA media and analysts rate some skills as almost untouchable? Hamzat's grappling. Well, I mean, it's a very rare case. It says, there are things a person can do to make the skill hard for them. Yeah, well, I mean, you're using the most extreme example I think possible there with Hamzat, who has what is it? Well, he's had 6 fights now, 6 in the UFC. This was his 6th fight with Holland. In 5 of those fights, the guy has been punched one time, one time between 5 opponents. That's fucking crazy. That doesn't make sense. So he's literally been untouchable, Ghost. He has literally been untouchable outside of a Gilbert Burns, someone who threatens with their own offensive grappling in the jiu-jitsu department, like you mentioned there. So yeah, there you go. As he says, but there are still other fighters that can tactically make it hard for him. Yeah, like Burns, right? So for sure. But we've just seen more often than not him literally be untouchable. So that's kind of how that has come to be. For that example you're specifically talking about. And somebody like Habib is another good example, I would say. So yeah, I mean, those are both very extreme ones, but it's when you're able to have that style that is more able to shut down other styles than be shut down, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's all a chess match, right? Everything's a chess match. So speaking of that, I mean, just imagine if Sarah McMahon did not have her late fight struggles. I mean, she has been untouchable early on, practically, outside of, let's say, maybe the Ronda fight, sure, but still think that was an early stoppage too. God damn it! But I digress. So that, my friends, is UFC Vegas 60. Song Yadong getting his first main event against Corey Sandhagen, and then next time we'll be in Vegas will be for Zhao Nan's main event. So look at that. China getting the main events. You love to see it. It's a big fights. I think they're both the underdogs. Well, I know Zhao Nan is, but Song Yadong seems like he's getting counted out pretty good. And it's a tough one, but I'm really excited for that fight. Should be fun. He looked sensational his last time out. He's always looked good, really, if we're going to be honest. But Corey Sandhagen, that guy's very, very talented as well. 5 rounds, bantamweights. Chef's kiss. Can't go wrong with the best division on the planet. So, yeah, that's UFC Vegas 6D. James says, how is Dern versus Jan not manipulative BS? Do you know how that's going to turn out? No, we don't, James. We do not. He says it would be great for Jan to win that. It's not manipulative. I just said they are top 6? It's 6 and 5 right now. You cannot make that claim compared to the other fights we've talked about. The Kat Zingano's, Pam Soren, not Kat Zingano and Liv Parker, Wolf and Dumont. These are completely different things. It's not manipulative at all. Stylistically, sure, you can say, all right, Dern's going to win on the ground. She's going to get her. She's going to take her down. But that doesn't happen. James, that Mackenzie Dern has got terrible takedowns or takedown ability. She is not a good wrestler. She's an amazing BJJ practitioner. If Zhao Nan can utilize her striking, maybe more so from distance, and pick Dern apart, which is certainly possible, it's a clear striker versus grappler matchup. But the thing with Dern always is she doesn't have that ability to take you down. We've seen her manage to do it. The one takedown she got was nice against Nina Nunez, excuse me, however you want to throw the names out. Usually, she drags people to the ground by, like, just holding and pulling on them. Not very good stuff there. So, I mean, Xiaonan can replicate, or at least should try to her best to replicate the Marina Rodriguez performance against her and without going to the ground. And she is well aware of what she needs to avoid. Like, if you did watch the chat that we had, she said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna grapple with her. That would be stupid." If she's literally said, "If I am a smart person, I would not go to the ground." So she's aware of that. She is gonna try to avoid that at all costs, and she can, because, well, she's been working on her grappling defense. Team Alpha Male, they're definitely going to have you prepared for that. And when you're not worrying, when you're worrying about good takedowns, and then you're not getting those coming at you, you should be more okay in theory. But yeah. Jimmy says it's like Connor versus Cowboy, stylistically bad for one person. I mean, I don't know if that is the best example of that. Definitely that favored Connor, but very different. You know, like Xiaonan and Dern is striker grappler. Totally, that's not quite the case. It wasn't the case with Connor versus Cowboy, but I see what you're saying. As Go says, maybe not manipulative, but you know the UFC wants Dern to win, so we need Jan to win, so we can throw it back to the UFC. I think the fact that it's main event does probably prove that they want Dern to win. So I'd agree with you there, Ghost, which is what it is, I guess. As Makoto says, how great would it be if the UFC promotes UFC 281 without any Carlos Esparza footage, like the way they did for Barber and Grasso, where all they showed was Barber? I mean, that would probably not work very well in terms of, I don't know. That if you're that's like you're asking for outrage at that point. Then you're asking for Whaley hate. These suggestions, Makoto, are things that will make you upset in the end, because then people will talk more shit about Whaley getting this favorable treatment and all this kind of stuff. So think about it from that perspective. Like, you should want them to make it the other way, where it's all about Carla. So then when she loses, then you can be like, these idiots, I told you. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? From a fan perspective, I would think that might be what you want, but I can't speak for you. But anyway, you guys, we filled out this Tuesday pretty well, I would say. So that should about do it. As we get the music rolling here. All right. Don't forget, you guys, visit MMA.com, MMAmania.com, just MMA.com. I think that is actually a thing. That's what the underground technically is, right? But MMAmania.com, all your MMA needs. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the like button at least, you guys. Really helps out a whole lot. Notification bell if you don't want to ever miss a gosh darn thing. What do we got to shameless plug? I think I've hit most everything already. Xiaonan, Marina Rodriguez, or Mcmahon out there. Got Aaron Blanchfield coming up next week. But later today, in about an hour and 20 minutes or so, hour and 10, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, the 2-year celebration episode, Broad Horizon episode 19, will be dropping on MMAmania.com with a great 4-guest lineup. Before Ryzen 38, we have the return of the champ. Kyoji Horiguchi will be on the show, as will his opponent at Ryzen 38. Kintaro Yuto Hakamura, and Hiromasa Ogikubo, who won the Grand Prix last year, along with the deep lightweight champion, Juri Ohara, who is an absolute madman, violence, 8-fight winning streak, also fighting on that card. Deserves a title shot in Ryzen himself, so good guest lineup there. Look forward to that dropping within the hour or so. So that's what we got going on here at MMAmania.com. Always working on all sorts of things, you guys. You know how it is. And yeah, don't forget, you can follow me at DrakeRiggs_, if you so please, on Twitter and Instagram for, that stuff, the stuff that I put out. But anyway, what do we got here? Jimmy says episode 19 with Kyoji, the real 125 goat. There you go. Esco says, this next fight card is better than 279, so we can all be positive next week. There you go. I like to hear that. But yeah, James says, Kyoji, the GOAT, undeniable. All right, so getting the hype. There you go. Love to hear it, you guys. Definitely always fun times with Kyoji, so get ready for that here. And yeah, about an hour and 10 minutes is when it will be coming out. So until next time, everybody, I will see you next Tuesday. Same time. All that good stuff. Enjoy the fights over the weekend, today, whatever it may be. Stay safe, stay sane, and I will see you guys when I see you.